Hey there, welcome to the Breakthrough Creative. I am your host, John McDavitt. I'm so glad that you're here with me today, where we talk about the business of art and the art of business. My guest today is painter and fine artist Robin Liefeld. She shares her journey, which involved some real challenges as she became an artist and finally got to a point where she could call herself an artist, and how she now paints and sells her art and gets into like all the revenue streams for her business. And it's such a great episode. I would encourage you to, in just a few days, I'm going to release another episode where Robin talks about the 17 things that she does to each piece before it leaves her hands. And that's really important in regard to marketing and cataloging and, a bunch of other things. So listen to her story today, and I'll see you on the other side. Robin, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thanks, John. How are you?
I'm doing good. Even better seeing all your, as you call them, coworkers
Yeah.
behind you. Those are beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I had mentioned the first thing when we actually started to talk about your pink typewriter back there, old school. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that too. Makes me so happy.
That's awesome. So Robin, thanks for being on the show, and I just want to get right into it. Tell me, what is it that you do?
Well, I'm a mixed media artist, mainly acrylic. I paint on anything, canvas, paper, clipboards, anything that doesn't move, I paint on. I'm also an author. I wrote a very small journal I can tell you more about later. I'm an online teacher, and I do have some speaking gigs here and there where I go to different art guilds and teach workshops on, the business of art and how to turn your hobby into a business.
It's fantastic. So how did you get from there to here?
Uh, I'm kind of a late bloomer. Spent most of my adult life being a foster mother. My husband and I had 18 foster children,
Wow.
and we kind of specialized in the really sick children, the ones who came straight from the hospital into my arms. Um, and they were drug exposed or at risk. And I'm guessing, because everybody asks me, why do you paint these, kind of sad looking children? And I'm guessing it's, my subconscious and also probably my own inner child. So around 50, I had like most new chapters in people's lives. I had a moment, I had an event that kind of launched me into this. This room that I'm in actually is my son's bedroom.
Mm.
Um, and he was my second foster child. We got him when he was 3 years old, and it was a beautiful story. And it was a story of turning something bad into something wonderful. And we, since then, also adopted his sister, and then we went on to have a child of our own. But the story about me becoming an artist revolves around my son. And he was, you know how you always have one child who's like, a little hard.
Well, I've only got one, so I'm
Yeah,
hoping I'm
yeah. Hopefully you don't have that, but probably the reason why we always butt heads is because we're so similar. But anyway, we had a break in our relationship when he was
Mm.
living here at the home, and he was, a young adult. And it was one of those breaks that, you know, it it just tears you apart as a mother, especially as a foster mother, adoptive mother. It went from being such a beautiful story to ending so badly. And
Mm.
he left the house and this bedroom, saying, I'll never talk to you again. And the details of the story, involve some things he did wrong and some things I did wrong. And it was hard and sad, and after he left, I would walk past this room and I would think, wow, this room is a monument to my failure as a mother. This so sad with all his stuff in here. And so one day I was tired of walking past it and how sad it made me, and I thought, what can I do with this room to kind of, I don't know, use it or make me feel better or whatever. And I had been a quilter and a scrapbooker and, every other craft imaginable. And so I decided to collect all of it and bring it into this room. Most of the stuff I bought on Craigslist. I got my typewriter on Craigslist. Um, and I filled it with pretty things that I loved. And I had some craft paint, and I decided to start painting. And as I was painting, like my broken hearted mommy tears fell into those first paintings. Just like, how did it go so wrong? And it was just really heartbreaking. But I found, as many people do, that art was so therapeutic. And often, well, every single time, these little children would emerge off of these paintings, these early paintings. And I'm not like a woohoo person, but I would often look into their eyes, and these girls would say, like, it's going to be okay. Storms don't last forever. Those sorts of things where the art started healing me. And that's kind of how I began painting, was here in my son's bedroom. And really his presence here helped, I don't know, helped with it all. And, it was 7 months later when he texted me and he's like, Mom, can I come home? And yes, he came home, and he came to this room and he said, what happened in here? He said, it seems like a little girl vomited in here. Um, and so he got moved to the guest room, and he eventually moved on. And, we both grew and reconciled through that. I had to take a hard look at some of my preconceived ideas, and he also, and he's my biggest supporter now. And so that's really the event that launched me as an artist. And I'm really grateful, because what I thought was a cave, it'll never be light again. I'll never feel good again. I'll always be a failure. What I thought was a cave was actually a tunnel to a brand new career and life. And now my art is hanging in coffee shops and art galleries and dentist office, and I've sold it around the world. And I think the most satisfying thing is I get emails from people saying, your art really touches me. You don't know, but this girl you painted, there's 1,000 stories. This girl you painted was my daughter who died, or, a lot of sad stories. But I'm glad that I'm able to touch people's lives through these girls. I don't know. And I don't know if I'm going to move on from them, but right now they're all I paint, and I love it.
Well, it seems like, every artist wants to strike a chord with their
Yeah.
audience, right?
Yeah.
And there's something amazing that has transpired with this journey you went on, that it comes through the paintings, and it makes room for people to project themselves into it, it sounds like.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Before I thought I was worthy of painting on canvas, I used to paint on clipboards, and because I didn't think I I was worthy,
Yeah.
only artists paint on canvas. And I went to my very first art retreat, and at the art retreat, they told everybody to go back to their room and paint something and come with it. And as as I painted my girl, and I was walking the halls back to show my art, this other artist stopped me, and she was um, completely freaking out when she saw my art, and I was thinking, yeah, I know, right? It's horrible, right? um, I probably should just turn around and go back to my room. But she said, you painted my daughter. And I'm like, what? Because my girls kind of, their eyes are low set. Um, often their lips are a little bit wide heads. And she's like, this is my daughter. You painted my daughter. And I couldn't understand what she was talking about. And later on, I would see her again. And every time I would see her, she almost would start crying. Um, she pulled me aside later that night and pulled up on her phone a picture of her daughter. And it was an exact
Wow.
duplicate of her daughter. Her daughter had craniofacial birth defects, and she was
Wow.
beautiful. Um, and I said, "Oh my gracious, here!" And I gave her the clipboard. And a few days after the retreat, I got a video of her daughter, who was like, I think like 9, holding the clipboard next to her head, and she said, I had no idea I was so beautiful. And then I realized, you know what? I shouldn't be embarrassed of what I'm painting. It's obviously touching lives. And so I've just decided to go with it since then. And I've had many stories like that.
Why do you think it is that that as artists, and I think people tend to do this in general, why do you think we diminish our own resources in the world?
Well, hopefully, you're kind of humble and you don't think you've got it all. I have so much to learn. And as a beginning artist, I felt very insecure. I don't know how to paint shadows. I don't know where the light comes from. There's so many things that I still have to learn. um, but I'm just intuitively painting. And so for that reason, and because I didn't, I wasn't educated in at art school, I feel a little like unworthy. But I'll tell you what, painting has helped that a lot. It's helped me feel um, that what I have is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing and exactly what the world needs from me, because through my eyes and my experience, only can I paint this way.
So, you had mentioned this a first art retreat you went on,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
I saw recently you went on a retreat.
That was an artist
That
residency.
was
That
a
was my
residence, yeah.
very first. Have you done any residencies?
Not like you did.
So cool. I highly recommend it. Where I had 2 weeks of just dedicated painting with a large space with like here in my art studio, I have one table. There I had 10 tables,
Yeah.
and they were full of paint and paper. And so I could just move from 6, 7 different paintings while one was drying, move on to the next, and or hang it on this big blank wall. It was just really fabulous. And I just really enjoyed the dedicated opportunity to not have to, you know, cook dinner and stuff.
Yeah. So it
Yeah.
was a real, it was, I mean, like you said, it wasn't a retreat,
It was a
but
residency.
it they had retreat elements to it, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it was
Tell
in a really
me,
cute town that was a very artistic town. So that was inspiring.
oh, very cool. Tell me about the first retreat. So when did you go on that retreat in
That was probably
relationship?
5 or 6 years ago. And it was, sometimes in life, John, you just have to go for it.
Yeah.
You just have to jump. Um, and I'm a fearful person in general. So my family is very shocked by all of the all the risks I'm taking, like to go on an artist retreat by myself for 2 weeks. What? Who is she? Um, but the first retreat, it was, you know how you have nudges in your spirit? It was just like, go. And I have friends that I made there that I know are going to be lifelong friends. And it was at that retreat that I realized, this is my next chapter. This is my next chapter. And it was an affirmation.
So what was the next step then after that? I'm wondering what was the, because some people start to paint and it's therapeutic and it's a hobby,
Yeah.
but this became much more than that.
Right. So if I could just be honest, I had to either go to work or make money with my new passion. I had two choices. And I did not want to go to work. I did not want to go to an office and shuffle paper or whatever it was.
Can I stop you 1 second? Can we just do like a virtual high five? Excellent. Thank
Yes,
you very much. You may
yes.
continue.
So I had to pick. Um, and I thought, okay, being an artist is really hard. I probably can't do that. But what I had done prior to being an artist was I was a foster mother for very sick children. And when I looked back on that, I thought, well, that was really hard too. And I didn't have any training for that. And I didn't know how to, nobody, I just did it. I had at the moment the skill set that I needed each moment, not for a week later, but for that moment. And so when I really thought about it, I said, you know what, I can do hard things. Look what I did. Look what I did. So, what is it about being an artist that's too hard? Is it really too hard? And I decided it wasn't going to be too hard. And that if I just moment by moment put one new layer on, learned one new skill, for example, starting a website. Well, I'm not a web developer. I don't know how to start a website. Um, and each day I would learn. I'd watch a new YouTube video or I'd sign up for a new newsletter. I would take a class and I learned how to make my own website. And as each new day went by and I put one new tiny little layer on, I realized that I was doing something really hard. And that I could do hard things. In fact, the name of the book that I wrote early on is called I Can Do Hard Things. And that features, it's like a journal, and it features all the paintings I did here in my son's bedroom, those early days that I cried into. They're all in that journal, and the journal prompts that helped me get out of the darkness, how to break through, how to count my blessings, how to look at the hard truths, how to look where I've been and dream where I want to go. It was really around this idea that I could do hard things that I went from, oh, painting is fun, to I'm going to make this a business. And I have a lot of different philosophies on how to turn your hobby or your passion into a business. And I can share some of those with you if you'd like.
Yeah, please. But first, I wanted to ask you about that title, I Can Do Hard Things. Tell me, like that's a really, you could almost just pass over it,
Yeah.
right? It's almost like something you might be telling your kid in, first grade. Hey, you can do hard things, go do that.
Yeah.
But
Well, the
but
concept is really you can choose your hard.
yeah.
You get to choose your hard. So do I want to choose this? I have options, and I chose the hard to have control over what I wanted. And it was really empowering to be able to choose my own hard.
Yeah, because if you had to go to work, that would have been hard,
Very hard.
and
Yeah.
maybe harder than well,
Yeah.
definitely harder than doing your work here and painting, because it would have cost you
Right.
emotionally. It would have cost you a lot of ways, right?
Right. Exactly. Being away from home, I get to stay home here. I get to um, see my children as they come and go. And so I love the idea of I could choose what I want and I can make it, I can figure it, everything is figure outable.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. So before we get into your list that you were just mentioning,
Mhm,
um, tell me tell me about that kind of that next season that went from, okay, I'm going to make a living at this,
mhm.
to maybe your first sale, or the sales that meant something, where it was like,
Okay.
oh, okay, I think this is doable.
Yeah, well, as I was kind of investigating what is an artist, what does an artist do, what does an artist look like, when do you get to call yourself an artist? When is that moment? Same thing with author. When do you get to call yourself an author? And so I was really struggling. So I would go to like art showings. I've joined many guilds and we would hang art and people would come in and they'd walk up to me and they'd ask me, oh, what's your name? And I would say, I'm Robin. And then that next sentence, I'm an artist. I like just would choke. It would choke. I would choke on it. And I had to figure out, when can I say I'm an artist? And I had heard somewhere that when people start recognizing your work, then you're an artist. And so I had my art at a coffee shop, and then I was at some art opening with my art, and a woman walked up to me and she said, "Oh, do you have your art hanging in a coffee shop in Lombard?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, I would recognize your work anywhere. I love your work." And it was that moment. I was like, whoa. And I realized I'm an artist. She recognized my work. She
She
can see,
bequeathed you with the
yes,
title.
I know. I got knighted or something. But it was at that moment that I realized, okay, my work is recognizable. And she could see the artist's hand in different pieces of work, which I think is key. And so, I think you should definitely try different styles and genres and that sort of thing. But once you settle in, if people can recognize your work, I think that is the moment, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right. So you're able to call yourself an artist. You are starting to sell your paintings, and then, like, you've really, what I would say you've done is you've created a brand, you know.
Right. So first I found my tribe.
Yeah.
I walked into my first art guild meeting. I really highly recommend finding other weirdos like yourself, because my family did not understand what was happening to me. Um, my daughter, when she was in middle school, when this all began, and she would say, "Mom, I'm having some friends come over. Is there any way you could like move these paintings?" Or turn them facing the wall. And she was really horrified. Now, as she's gotten older and as I've grown, it's not that way anymore. But my family didn't really get it, and so oftentimes you have to find the people who get you, your own weirdos, your own tribe. And that's what I found at the art guilds. And so whenever they had openings or events or anything, I was there. I made a point of putting on my big girl pants and going and sitting there and saying, "Hello, I'm Robin. I'm an artist." So that was a huge role. And so people who were seasoned, who'd been painting for years, I got to sit with them and learn. I listened to every word out of their mouth. And they were so generous and so gracious with their information. "Oh, you know where you should go? There's this shop down the street that they'll show you how to wire the back of your painting." And then this lady would tell me this one place where she found this particular, and I just learned so much. And that's one of the reasons why I go around and I speak to new artists, especially, is because I want to give back everything that I learned to other people. who I am today is because of those um, gracious, generous artists who showed me the way.
So were you, or I guess you don't really change in this regard. Are you an introvert?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would rather stay home for sure. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I said, I'd rather be an artist, because I don't want to go and sit in an office and have to say, how are you doing? Would you like, whatever, every day. So being an introvert, an artist life is perfect, fits perfect. I can paint all day by myself, listen to my music. And then, of course, having a social media presence means I can put my work out there without actually having to be there in person. But really, you have to force yourself to go, and people really want to meet the artists at shows and stuff. That's really important to them. It helps tell your story, and then they want your art more because oh, I know her. We had a talk, and so I want to buy this piece. So I don't want to discount at all going out and meeting your collectors.
So how did you, as an introvert, right? And then becoming an artist, and you're given the title by your first recognizer, right? Your first fan. How did this turn into speaking?
I had done some speaking at my church when I was, in my foster parenting life and that sort of thing. So I was familiar with speaking in general, teaching in general. Um, and I'm one of those people, when I learn something new, I want to tell everybody how I did it, how I learned it. I guess I'm, a teacher at heart. But what would happen is I would be at art guilds and I'd be chatting with somebody and they'd be like, can I write this down? Can you wait, stop. And then people would come around me, and then I realized, well, maybe I should share what I'm doing as well. And so I have gone to quite a few art guilds and shared my process with them, just because I love helping new artists, especially.
Okay, so Robin, would you share like what are your revenue streams? Because if you're not working, a real world job, and you need to make a living as an artist,
Yeah.
chances are you need to do a bunch of things with your art, right?
Yeah, you have to wear a lot of hats as an artist. I think people think of an artist as they get some paint and a paintbrush and a canvas, they paint something, and then they sell that painting, and it's a one-off. Um, but for me, anyway, I mean, some live that way, and maybe someday I can be that way. But for me, I make money many different ways. I have many different streams of income at many different price points. So a big canvas might be $1,200, but not everybody can buy that. Some people have $3 to spend on art. So I try to offer my art at many different price points. And the way that I do that is I repurpose it, or I leverage each painting. Each painting goes through this channel that I'll share with you. But the ways that I have money coming into my bank account are: I sell my original art, like I just described. I sell it in galleries, at art shows, in coffee shops, in medical buildings. I have a little business card where people can call me, and then they can just send, if they want to buy it, straight to my PayPal account, and then it's theirs. But before I hang it out there, I take many photos of it. And I like to take photos of it before I put any kind of varnish on it, because it's hard to take pictures of something that's shiny, you know. Um,
Are you in oils, by the way, or acrylics?
oh, that's another thing. I mean, I really want to learn oils, but I've invested so much money in my current art supplies that I'm trying, to restrain myself.
Yeah.
um, I really enjoy acrylic paint right now, but maybe, in the future, I'm open to it. Another way I make money is if it's not hanging somewhere physically, I will list it on my website. Okay. And I use Square. They offer free websites as well if you have an account with them. And so I take advantage of that, and I have my art listed on a Square website. So let's say I'm out somewhere and people say, oh, I'd love to buy some art from you. Where can I find you? I give them the address of my Square website. And then sometimes, and this is more frequent, I sell items right off of Instagram. So I try to keep my Instagram current. I have a lot of behind the scenes of, here I am painting something. Here I am. This is the way I'm feeling about it. This is the way that it looks at the beginning. This is the way that it looks in the middle. This is the way when I'm like, well, this is terrible. I can't do anything with it. So people get to see how the struggle of being an artist. People love behind the scenes looks. Oftentimes, before the paint is dry, somebody will DM me on Instagram and say, can I buy that? And it'll be sold, through my Instagram stories. There was a time when COVID first hit in March and April that I was painting my feelings, like
Yeah.
on little pieces of paper. And I sold, I don't know, 50 or 75 of those as I was making them. They were selling off of Instagram. And then the other place that I sell my art is on Etsy. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with Etsy. It is just a clunky website that's, I don't know. For
Well,
me,
everything is an individual
it's horrible.
upload, right? Like everything
Yes.
has, and then you pay a little
And you
bit. I
pay
mean, it's a
20 cents. You pay 20 cents per listing, and you could go months without selling anything. And Etsy has a lot of power over whether or not they show your listings to their people. And they have favorites and they have algorithms, which is their prerogative. And then there are some months where I make so much money on Etsy, and then I just got to restock it like a store. So sometimes when you ask me, I love Etsy. Sometimes when you ask me, I hate Etsy.
And so are you posting originals on Etsy as well
Yes.
as prints and whatnot?
I find that people don't really look for original canvas art on Etsy. They're looking for, is tchotchkes the right word? Little whimsical treasures. That's what I call them. So my clipboards, I'll buy little pencil bags that are canvas, and I'll paint a girl on a canvas. So little things. Everything on Etsy is maybe under $40. So I have the Square website that sells my original art. That's expensive. Then I have Etsy that's kind of middle of the road, at a price point that maybe is more affordable. And a lot of those are original. Some of them are, photocopies that I've collaged onto something. Let's see.
I'm looking right now on there. That's why my head dipped out of the screen.
Oh, this kind of harkens back to my early days when I didn't feel like I was qualified to paint on canvas. I would buy these little things at Goodwill and I would just paint on them. So this is an original painting, and this will be on Etsy. A little bowl that I painted on. People can put their jewelry or their keys in there. This will be on Etsy. These sorts of things I put on Etsy, kind of a different price point for a different buyer. So I'm looking to sell my art, not to just art collectors, but to people who want to have art in their lives, but it's affordable art. So I'll have my art on Etsy, and then I really, really want to leverage each and every painting. So I'll paint a girl, and the other place where you'll find my art is on blank notebooks. So think about a journal where you're keeping your thoughts or your dreams or your weight loss goals or your food diary or your travel log, just a notebook with blank lines. Well, I decided to put my girls, I'll just take a painting and I'll put it on a notebook, and I have, I think like 23 of them available on Amazon. So And that girl that you see on that notebook, she was on an original painting and she's on all these other things. You'll see her many times. And that's, you own your art. You can do whatever you want with your art. Even if it sells to somebody, it still belongs to you. And so I really take advantage and leverage my art. So my latest obsession is putting my art on merch. So I started with Zazzle, where you put your art on phone cases. So here's my phone case. This is one of my girls. Phone cases, coffee cups, that sort of thing. And Zazzle was where I started, but my newest obsession is Redbubble. Like, I'm obsessed with Redbubble because the user interface is very elegant and easy to use. And they are very well known for stickers. So if you Google, stickers, whimsical stickers, or a saying, storms don't last forever, or I can and I will, whatever it is, I can put those sorts of texts over my girls, make a sticker, and Redbubble really does a lot of the heavy lifting for you as far as SEO and having it show up in searches and Google searches.
Is it important to match those images with a saying? Is that the key, you think, or?
Yeah, a lot of people have given me the feedback that when they see an image and a saying, they have said the words, I didn't have any other choice. I had to have it.
Wow.
I had to have it. And so I don't know if your I don't know if your art speaks to you, John, but many times my art will tell me what it wants to say. So, and it seems to work because it touches other people. And so my latest fun thing to do is to upload my girls on Redbubble with a cute or meaningful or poignant saying and have it be a sticker. So that's what and the stickers will be $3, $4. That's another price point. So I have the original art, I have Etsy and Instagram, which is medium, and then $3 stickers is a whole different audience, a whole different new group of people who can discover my art.
And so if you sell a $3 sticker, now obviously Redbubble's getting a chunk of that, right? And so
Right.
you're getting a percentage.
They give me a royalty. And
Yeah.
so I spend tops an hour, but now that I'm good at it, 20 minutes creating a sticker. And then I upload it and it will always be there and it will always be for sale and I'll never have to think of it again.
Passive income.
Right.
Yeah.
So passive income, I think, is a wonderful way to make a living as an artist. You like they say, you make money as you're sleeping. So
Yeah.
I have this little thing set up on my phone where it goes cha-ching like that when I sell something. And it's a wonderful feeling. And the cha-ching means $1.20, but $100 20s add up.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I'm going to be doing later this week. I'm going to be making some stickers
Absolutely.
to see what happens.
So fun. So fun. And if you kind of get hung up on the mechanics of how do you do, because you need a PNG, you need a transparent background, Google it on YouTube. There's 4,000 YouTube videos showing you the mechanics of doing it. And lots. And my pro tip when I watch a YouTube video is to read the comments, because often in the comments it answers the question that I had. But what about, yeah. And so in the comments, I have learned more than almost in the video. So anyway, those are the ways that I make money. Also, I'll go out and speak. I'll have a speaking gig. I'll make money doing that. And what I'm just breaking into is affiliate marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some people who are pros at this and know what they're doing. I'm just beginning to investigate how, if I find something that I love, a software, a product, if I love it, and people, because you get to a point as an artist where people say, what color paint is that? What brand of paint is that? That pink that you use, what is that? Well, Amazon has a store. If you want, you can get your own storefront where you tell everybody, in this painting here, these are all the things that I used. I used golden, whatever it was. I used Liquitex gesso. And so instead of answering their questions 1,000 times, you can say, just go to my Amazon store and everything that I use is there. And once they click on that, Amazon will give me a kickback for them buying the product through me. It doesn't cost the person any more. It's still the same price, but Amazon is like, thank you for sending them. And it's pennies, but it all adds up.
How did you become so forward thinking about doing all of this?
I didn't want to go to work, John.
But then where did you find it? It's one thing to be realistic about it, right? For it to work. So was it just desperation and you went, I got to figure out all these ways?
Maybe there's a salesperson hidden in me somewhere. I don't know. But when I was in high school, I loved gold jewelry. It was a bit all the rage, gold jewelry. And somewhere along the way, I realized if I buy this gold, because people are like, oh, I love your rings, I love your whatever. If I buy, instead of one of them, if I buy 20 of them at discount, I can turn around and sell each of them double to my friends. And so maybe I've always wanted to, figure out how to earn a living, non-traditionally.
So it kind of came naturally,
I
is what
guess.
you're
I
saying. You're
I guess.
yeah, desperation plus desire plus some
Yeah,
smarts.
I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm really a big proponent of learning the new technology, the new ways of doing things.
yeah.
I don't want to get stuck or stagnant. And so if there's something open and new for me, I'm going to try to learn it and see if it's a good fit for me.
So where are you at on your journey? Are you do you think you're halfway there? Do you think you've got miles and miles to go? What's the goal?
Yeah. My dream is to get a big studio with 10 tables and lots of white walls, just like at my art residency, and to just really paint and to continue this job that I have. I view it as a job. It is I'm a full-time artist, and I want to make money at it. I don't want to be like, filthy rich. I just want to have a comfortable living where I can buy the paints that I want. I can buy whatever it is that I want. I don't want to be a starving artist.
Right. Yeah, money, I mean, for me as an artist, money means freedom.
Yeah.
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 Let me ask you this. When you started to sell your originals, what was that first big sale like for you? How did that feel?
It was really actually a fluke. It was at a art guild, and they had a judge walk around, um, judging each piece, which was horrifying for me because I was thinking my piece is so childish and childlike. And I remember when he walked up to it, and I got an honorable mention that night. And he really validated. He saw what I was trying to say, and that was so meaningful to me that he could look at my painting and not see a beginner or a childish painting, but he could see what I was trying to say. And that was such a gift, such a gift.
I guess when we get what we want, right? When we get to be an artist, when we get there, and then reality settles in. Um, you know that some people say the worst day doing what you love is on par with maybe the best day doing something you
Hmm.
don't, right? But what would you say have been the challenges for you to keep going? Because I know you said that you can be a fearful person, but
Yeah.
you've really set your chin, right? And you're determined to go after it. So I guess why? Why? What makes you stand strong in that?
Yeah. Because I love it. I love doing it. The challenge is being consistent, painting consistently. When you become a full-time artist where it is your business, where you have income, the challenge is the business side of it all. So, coming into my art studio and painting is wonderful. I have the music on, I have my candle going, I have my art smock on, and I'm in the flow, and it's what I want. But I have to also, you know, take photos and upload them and pay taxes and all that goes with having your own, being an entrepreneur, being a solopreneur. It's just me. I don't have anybody else helping me. So I've come up with a schedule that works best for me is in the mornings, I answer emails. I talk to people. Engagement on social media is everything. That's how you hit the algorithm. That if they see that people are commenting, so if four people comment on something on Instagram, um, Instagram notices. But then if I comment on their comment, Instagram notices, oh, there's 8 comments. And if you have 100 people commenting and you say thank you, or you give a sweet, winsome response to them, then there's 200 comments. And all of a sudden you are getting pushed up and up the algorithm. And that takes work, where you have to engage with people in a way that's authentic, and that helps them connect with you and with your art. So that's not painting. That's administrative duties to me. So in the mornings, I do that sort of thing.
How
Um,
much time are you talking between emails and Instagram, social media?
it's probably all morning, and then I'll take a rest. Um, and the time that I really protect fiercely for painting is in the afternoons. That is when I feel the flow. I feel awake. I feel good and positive. And so my afternoons are my painting times. And then evenings are family time because I'm still a family person. So those are generally how my days go.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. It's a disciplined schedule, is what it sounds like you have.
I try.
Yeah,
Now there will be times that I won't paint for weeks or months, um, because you know, like a lot of artists, I'm pretty moody. I have my ups and downs, and when I'm feeling down, I just can't paint. Um, but oftentimes, when I find myself back in the art studios, when I start feeling better, so I really try to make a point of getting in here, and I've become a better painter. You don't want to wait for inspiration. You want to do it as a discipline, and that's how you become better, because the muscle memory, it just grows and grows. And it used to take me, days to paint a painting. Now I can do the painting that I'm happy with in hours, because I'm just getting, the muscle memory.
yeah, that's good. It sounds like you know yourself pretty well too now, and you know when to push it and when to go, okay, I need to ease off.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, just as we wrap up, do you have any last bits of a thought, some advice, some wisdom that you might want to share with somebody who's watching who wants to make a living from their art?
Yeah, I think, to really just be a learner. If you are a learner, you can learn anything. I really believe it. I learned how to paint. I learned how to do the technology, to have a website, to collect money. And I learned that from other people by having coffee with other artists. So I would recommend find somebody who you admire and then just invite them out for coffee and listen and ask questions. Um, Surround yourself with people who create the art and live the life that you're hoping for, and you will just learn so much. Um, so yeah, just be a learner. Don't be afraid to learn the new stuff. So if you get stuck and say, well, I can only do this, or this is my limitation, I think, you're doing yourself a disservice. You need to grow every day, and be brave and be willing to ask and make mistakes. And it will be just so much more fulfilling when you are growing in your art.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. Robin, where can people find you?
Um, on Instagram, Robin Liefeld Creates is where you'll see most of my work. You'll see my in process work. You'll see anything new that I'm doing on Instagram. You can also go to robinliefeld.com, and that's where you'll see all the rest. Everything
Awesome.
else. Yeah.
Okay, and I'll have that in the show notes along with a few other links that Robin has. So thanks so much.
You're welcome. And it's been my pleasure to be here with you, John. And I'm grateful for this opportunity.
Robin, thank you so much for being my guest. Thank you for being so forthright and honest in regard to your story, sharing your story. Stories, and we all have our stories, right? Our stories are so important. And I think so many times we think to ourselves, nobody is going to care about my story, or my story is unrelatable, or it's embarrassing. You know what? Our stories make us relatable because people are challenged with crises in their lives or with situations that we may think are unrelatable, and yet we can all relate to one another. And when we hear a story like Robin's, it is encouraging. It's encouraging, A, that she shared it, B, that she used the challenge in her life to springboard into art. And then she faced all those challenges and kept on going. And, my biggest takeaway from this episode, from you, Robin, is that I can do hard things. We can all do hard things. I love that you just said to yourself, you like brought it down to the essence of the issue. And you said, hey, I can do hard things. And that may sound simplistic. It may sound like, oh, come on, John, we all face hard things. Yes, but it's a difference between being buffeted with hard things and actually, taking on the mantle of artist, taking on the mantle of I can do hard things, and moving forward and making your way through the challenges. I just love that Robin embraced social media. I love that she embraced selling stuff. It's just so good and so encouraging. And wherever you're at in your life, in your journey as a creative, you can't help but take inspiration from what Robin just shared. And I encourage you to do that. I encourage you to do the hard things you need to do to call yourself an artist and to go out and make a living doing what it is that you do. You can find more information about Robin in the show notes. You can go to www.robinliefeld.com. And if you want to find out more about her, and by the way, she is a public speaker as well. Isn't it funny? She talks about, kind of being quiet and kind of, but she's a public speaker and a very encouraging one. So I encourage you just to look her up and find out what she's all got going on there. And again, we're going to visit with Robin in the very next episode, and we're going to learn the 17 things that she does to each one of her pieces before she releases it and it's gone from her life. And yeah, so that's it. That's it for this episode. Please, please, please subscribe. Please subscribe to this episode on whatever platform you are listening to it, and share it with the artists in your life, because artists, we need this information. We need to be encouraged, and we need to be informed about how we can make a living from our art. So, on behalf of the Breakthrough Creative, I am John McDavitt, and I hope that you go out, you make some stuff, you do hard stuff, and you start figuring out how to make a living with what it is you do creatively. All right, we'll see you next time. Cheers.